This is more from that trip. This woman vendor, she's selling me aguaje. Now this is something that I just want to show you guys because I love it, but it's not necessarily something that we're going to grow in the U.S. because it's a big, tall palm tree, and it's just not well adapted to where we live. But aguaje is also known as the curvy fruit. It's said to I don't know where this comes from, but they say it gives the local women a more like feminine shape. So everybody was eating aguaje everywhere, and it was littered on the street because it was very popular. It was kind of like a fad fruit, but it had a really funky, oily texture and a carrot-like flavor that I really liked. Deb didn't care for it, but I loved it. Up on the upper right there is a photo of some, we call them Cape gooseberries. They call them golden berries, or I've seen them also marketed as golden berries. The Latin name is Physalis peruviana, but these ones are extra large and super sweet and highly coveted. People love them. And I love the display they had. These markets had the most incredible layouts and displays. It was really impressive to see the way that people laid things out. It was just so artful, and it was, I mean, I guess it was like your average, it was so much more incredible than your average grocery store, but that is how people go shopping in those areas, is just going to the street markets. And on the bottom right is a photo of 3 different kinds of dragon fruit that we had in Lima, and we do offer dragon fruit in our catalog, and my favorite was the yellow one. It's extra, super, super sweet and juicy. It's amazing. Okay, so this is ají charapita. This is a common houseplant in Peru. It's a very rare pepper. It's only about the size of the tip of your pinky. The funny thing is, me and Deb, we were fascinated by this plant, but we didn't know that this was going to be our big find from this trip, but it ended up being very successful. It's got a really great houseplant form. It's highly branched. It sends off dozens and dozens of fruit, and many people don't know, but peppers are actually perennial, so this plant will just live in your house as a house plant. Super well adapted. We saw this house plant everywhere from, we stayed in one of those, we stayed in a renovated old rubber baron mansion, like the one I showed you with the fancy tiles. We stayed in one of those, and these guys had a house plant of of this pepper. And then we stayed with this woman in the photo. She was actually the source of this seed. We stayed with her one day, she kind of had like a loft cabin in the jungle, and she had a house plant of this, and she had like an indoor-outdoor house, which was really, really cool, open layout, and she also had a pot of it. It seemed to be like kind of the staple, it's kind of a staple plant for everyone as their house plant. And what people do is they crush this pepper and eat it whole. Usually put it in your bowl of soup. You crush it with the back of your spoon and put it in your bowl of soup, and it spices your entire bowl of soup. And why I love it is that it has the perfect spicy, fruity balance. You find the fruity, floral, spicy balance in things like habaneros, but you often can't appreciate that because the habanero is just too hot. But ají charapita is not that spicy, so it's a beautifully balanced, floral, fruity, spicy pepper that I think is exquisite. And the cool thing about them is they're so tiny. And later we found out that it's the world's most expensive pepper seed, purportedly, because it's difficult to commercially produce, and the seeds are very tiny. But we found this one also very well adapted to us. People are already very adept at growing peppers. We all, as Americans, we're all very good at growing peppers, and this grows just like any old pepper. And a bonus is that it's the best houseplant pepper I've ever found. If you're interested in houseplant peppers, the Chinese 5-color is another really good houseplant pepper. But this one's better. So we loved ají charapita, and that was a big one for us. We also found this really cool squash that's pictured on the chair, and that was at an agricultural research station out in the middle of nowhere, and we had to hitchhike to get there, if you don't recall, remember, Deb, because our motorbike ride broke down, got a flat tire, ran out of gas on a hill or something, and so we had to like hitch to get there, and things seemed kind of tenuous. Things were getting scary for a minute, but it was totally fine, and we ended up finding seeds for this really awesome squash. You guys might have remember I was just talking about the aguaje, the curvy fruit. That is pictured on upper right. It's also, they call it like a dragon scale fruit. And then bottom right is the naranja, that's the orange fruit there. And that is a solanaceous fruit similar to cocona, but all sweet, no tangy.